Hello. As you can see, I've put the dollies together and put the wheels together, although not permanently. I'll show you what I mean by that in a second or two. And it's all ready for painting. Before I paint them, I wanted to do show you what I've done, because some of it is really quite difficult. I've done sections 10 and 11, as you can see them there. Okay, there's a couple of little quirks on this. Somebody said to me that these instructions show you what to do but not how to do it, and that's exactly what happens, to be fair. The axles, putting the axles together, the dollies together, is really quite easy, and when you've got it, the suspension works on them. They're really quite clever little things. Takes a little bit of time because it's quite fiddly, but all goes together. The biggest problem with them is all this tubing. And before I started doing this, I looked at quite a lot of videos that people have made, and I've not seen anybody put the tubing on yet, which pretty much says it all, doesn't it? It's a bit awkward to put on, to say the very least. These up to here on the instructions, straightforward. Then the instructions imply that you would put those two side pieces on that casement. If you do, you're not going to put the tubes on. It's as simple as that. I glued one together and then realised there's no way in this world I would be able to get the tubing in, because when you look at the next diagram here, it shows it without the cases on, and the fact that you have to put the tubing onto the spring brake and onto the suspension arm there, which is there to raise and lower the suspension if you want to lift a wheel off the ground, and then put the arms on, these side pieces on. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. In there, two tubes come off the spring brake, and at the back of that arm there, two tubes come off that cylinder. They go out through the back here, and the two from the spring brake go out through the back. They then go up the sides, as you can see, and are clamped on there and there. And then you need an amount of tubing to connect it to the trailer bed. As I mentioned on the last video, these pipes that I've put in here, little pieces of silicon tube. Can you see that there? I think you can. Yeah, little piece of silicon tube that's 1mm, and that's 0.75mm, and these will fit perfectly inside the 1mm. So a little bit of Gorilla Glue in there, or PVA, whichever you prefer, and push them both together. They'll stay there forever. As I've mentioned in previous videos, this is 0.75mm silicon tubing. Oddly enough, the only place you can get it is from an angler's. It's something to do with carp fishing. I've never done carp fishing, but thank them for the tube. And then just push a strand of copper wire down it, speaker wire, and you can form it into any shape you want. Hopefully these pictures will show how the tubes fit on the suspension cylinders and on the spring brake. There's more pictures later on. The rest of it is all quite simple, and the wheels will turn if you put them on correctly. Yeah, the wheels will revolve. Okay. However, it doesn't tell you not to cement the wheels when you put them together, when you put them on the hubs. It implies on the diagram that all this would be cemented together. Nowhere does it say don't cement it. But this piece and this piece, P20 and P21, They glue together with that one in the middle, but no cement between that one, and that will allow the wheel to rotate. The same on a tractor unit. The wheels will rotate if you don't glue those two pieces to these two pieces. Okay. As I say, the tubing is a real pain. It really is. I had to do this in, I think it was about 4 stages. On the instructions, it implies that these two tubes here that run underneath, that run through there, should run underneath that arm. But there's simply no room. There's no space there at all, so it can't. And because of that, I put them on the top. It's never going to go on a real road, so I'm not really bothered about it. Now, I've had to drill. I'll show you the bit of photo etch first. On the instructions, it implies that you would form 3 pieces of photo etch, 1 fairly long piece and 2 short pieces, and you would form them into that shape and that shape. Okay, which I did. And I spent a good couple of hours doing that because they're only tiny pieces. That then glues onto the frame here, and these 2 tubes on each side run through that piece of photo etch, and that piece of photo etch then clamps them into position. However, it's so delicate. There's a photo etch. It's so delicate. There's one piece that's already bent over. I made them like this first, glued them together, yeah, and then bent them over, as you can see. And I'll break another one just to show you. They're so delicate that as soon as you put any pressure on them, they come apart. Now, I tried gluing that with all sorts: Gorilla Glue, Super Glue, PVA, you name it, I tried it, and the same thing happened. And the reason is, this piece here, it's so small you can't really see it. This piece here, I'll show you on the instructions, is the upturned bit there, and it's so small, there's such a small surface area between those that you can't get a proper bond on it no matter what you do with it. So it had no chance of holding those tubes in place. So what I've done is I've drilled a half millimeter, sorry, 0.75 millimeter hole right the way through the arm, right the way through to the other side, and then used a piece of 0.75 steel wire, pushed that through, folded it over on the top, and that's holding it. That held them in position while I got this lot sorted out here. Okay, and that works really quite well. When it's painted, nobody will ever know. It will just look as normal. It will look as, in fact, I think it'll look better with that photo etch. It would with the photo etch on it. And that's about it for those. A lot of fiddly work, and you've got to make 10 of them, you know, so there's a lot of repetitive work. There's 4 pieces in each of these brake drums and bearings and brake drums, and you know, by the time you're finished, there's a lot. By the time you've petaled everything down, filed it, sanded it, glued it all together, there's a lot of work in there. So that's going to take you a little while. And if you do put the tubes on, then you need to leave quite a tail on there so that you've got enough for them to fit on the trailer when you've done. I also did the wheels. I thought I might as well do the wheels while I'm at it with these dollies. If you've got this model, you probably realise there's 40 dollies there. I'll put photographs in the middle of the video, as I always have done. Hopefully these photographs will show the steps that I've just talked about. You might also notice where I've drilled the holes, and you may also notice I painted the brake drums a rust colour. It's my first attempt at mixing that kind of paintwork. Not too bad, but it could be better. I'm sure I'll improve as time goes on. And it also shows a bit of the spray booth that I used. The wheels need to be painted so that inside it, there, on this side with the holes on it, we don't want any paint because you've got to glue it onto those hubs. But on this side you need to paint it because you'll be able to see that, it'll be on view. Which means that all this in the middle here has got to be painted, and it's quite fiddly. So what I've done is I've put them together with a bit of double-sided tape. Okay, and then you've got locating lugs, put them together, and when they're back together again, I've got the wrong glasses on for this, and when they're back together again, they'll be fine. Yeah. Then paint them, pull them apart, and you need them separate to put them on the hub and glue them together properly. But they need to be painted before you put the tyres on, otherwise you're trying to mask tyres out. It's that madness, personally. Again, really easy to do, but there's an awful lot of them. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on each piece. On each wheel, there's 5 bits on each pair of wheels, and you've got 40 of them. You know, it's you've got a lot of bits and pieces there to put together. Other than that, as I say, repetitive, but really quite easy. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to paint them, and I was going to paint these dollies black, but I don't know. I might go with green. And the brake drums, I'm going to see if I can make some kind of rust coloured paint, because that's what they were. What would happen to them? They rusted very easily because they were very hot all the time when you had drums. I'm surprised it uses brake drums, to be honest. I've not seen a trailer with brake drums on it. They're all disc brakes now. I've not seen drums on a trailer for a long time. Any questions, any comments, good or bad, put them in the section below, the comment section below. Other than that, next time I'll show you when I've got all this done, and hopefully I'll have them stuck onto the bottom of the trailer bed. Ta-da!